sports.com on Facebook. But after all that, let me introduce our first guest tonight. I am proud to introduce head coach, Somerset Briar Jumpers, 13th season, Coach Robbie Lucas.
It's great for you to have, and I appreciate it. I didn't realize it had been 13 already.
Yeah, I was looking back today and going down through there, and I know your first season they had the intern tag on, I guess, and 2010 was the first official year, but I went back 2009, so 13 years.
It's went by in a blink of an eye, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Before we get started, hate to start things off on a somber note, but recently the Somerset family and the Somerset community as a whole lost a dear friend, a coach, a mentor to so many in this area, in Coach Jeff Perkins. And I know the connection between you two, it goes back to that 1996 when he hired you to be a part of his coaching staff. If you would, you take a minute and talk about Coach Perkins and what he's meant to you personally and what he's meant to this Somerset football program.
I think you said it the best way. I dare you to find somebody that hadn't had a positive interaction with that man. He was very good for me 26 years ago. He interviewed me straight out of college and a little bit of college coaching. Thought I went in and killed the interview, and actually, I'm looking back, I'm surprised he even hired me. He was a kind man then. He hired me, brought me in, put me under his wing, and has taken care of me for the last 26 years. And when I say that, he's always been there for me. His family has been great to me. Personally, I owe the man everything that I have. I mean, I'm here because of him. I got hired because of him. He was the guy that took the chance on me. And it wasn't like it is today. There's a lot of openings or anything like that. He could have had his pick of anybody.
Right.
But the positivity he's done for this community, I mean, he's played here. He's walked the hallways as a student, as a principal, assistant principal. He's been on the board. He's run the Alumni Center. He's coached. You name it. He's done everything. On top of that, he was a special athlete himself here.
Yes.
And, to say that he's a special man kind of sells it short. And I'm sure we could spend the entire time we're supposed to be talking about football here, talking about him. But I'm glad you brought it up. And I just want to say we're going to miss him dearly. Our program and our community is going to miss him dearly. And sometimes you don't feel the echo of a loss until a little bit later. And I think a lot of people may do that just from the simple fact of how much he helped this community and this program and this school continue to tick along.
I know his presence will be felt for years to come. Like you said, there's so many former players, adults that have kids now that are playing for the program that have been around Coach Perkins and been touched by him, and we do want to remember him this year for sure.
Absolutely.
So, getting into football a little bit now. Every small school goes through some peaks and valleys. You try to limit the valleys, but at times the numbers just aren't there for you. And you saw that a little bit last year's team. You finished 2-9, maybe didn't have the numbers, young a little bit, inexperienced. You lost some key contributors from last year's team, Chase Stone, Michael Hawkins, Mason Elnor, and Christian Whitus. But from transitioning from last year's team to this year's team, what have you seen in the offseason and the winter and getting ready for this year different?
That 2-9 team was really tough because we'd had our expectations set so high. And those guys you just mentioned, I think there were 6 total seniors. Those guys stayed when everybody else left. Last year's, like I said, was 25th year of coaching, had more people quit the program than ever had. We had more injuries than we'd ever had. Our numbers were not as good to begin with, and I like a fool, tried to bring in as many kids as I could to hopefully build those numbers for the future. It never turns out like that because you've got to put a lot of time, effort, and work in, and if you don't, it's easy to turn your back on something. And we had a lot of that happen, and it was a learning experience for me. Our kids played hard. I think I tried to preach patience last year. That was more so for me than anybody else. We were very young. We were very inexperienced. We lost some really good players. We were playing a meat grinder of a schedule. Very tough to get traction, all the things that mounted against us, and our kids come out and still give great effort, and I still feel the last game of the season, we were in that game to the very end. So I think we made progress, especially against a team with Danville speed and the number of seniors they had coming back. So proud of that team. The difference, I think, is going to be the simple fact that we've had birthdays and weight rooms, and Justin Bozeman and Castle Hatcher have done a great job in the weight room, and I've been trying to get Coach Bose from a career for a long time, and he works miracles in the weight room, and these kids got in and bought in, and he is very, very good at getting kids to trust him, pushing kids, And our kids, you can look at the board in there, have gotten so much stronger. This may be one of the strongest teams from where it started to where it ended that we've ever had, and that's saying something. Now, they had a long way to cover, but those kids did that in the offseason. It was a great offseason. We needed that. We needed to grow up. We needed to physically get tougher. The big transition is going to be is for our kids' minds to realize they're not 155 pounds anymore. They're 185. Right. That you can come up and make that tackle now, that you can make that block physically that you couldn't do last year. And we're starting to come through that a little bit. But I like where we are starting out. We got to stay healthy. But I like where we're at, and I like what the kids have done to put us in the point we are right now.
Now, something that you all have been doing for several years, I guess now, that I didn't have back when I played, I know you didn't have, is these passing leagues,
Correct.
the 7-on-7. How much do you think that helps the kids? What do you gain from it as you go and do these 7-on-7 leagues?
You know, really, really good for offenses. You get your quarterback and your receivers and running backs, and you get timing down, you get routes down, you get trust down, you find your favorite receivers, you find kids you know will go across the middle. You find those things. It's not really football. Said that the other night. It's not really football because nobody's going to rip your head off coming across the middle. But our kids did a good job of competing. We went against some good teams. Southwestern came over for a night. Boyle County several times, Lincoln County, Russell County. We threw against several teams and held our own and actually went up to EKU in their passing tournament, one of the hottest days, and acquitted ourselves very well. So it helped a lot. Defensively, it helps with coverages and getting people to understand coverages and what we want. It kills linebackers because we spend all winter and all spring, spring practice and talking about taking a 6-inch step downhill. We're aggressive. We never want to play the pass first. And the very first thing you do in passing league is you play the pass first. Right. So it's a little bit of a setback, and you have to break some bad habits there. But overall, anytime you're playing football in the state of Kentucky that early, it's good, and especially when you got that type of competition. It breaks up the weight room. It breaks up the monotony of going in every day and just lifting weights, and our kids were excited about it.
So your skill positions are always, going to those, and you have your defensive players, linebackers, corners, safeties, this and that. What do your linemen do during that time?
Well, they do a lot of lifting. They go with Coach Hatcher, and they block our schemes. They do a lot of time working on fundamentals, pass pro, things like that. It's a great opportunity for them to get better. I wish the KHSAA would allow other schools to send linemen to work together, no pads, just so you can see somebody different and get to know each other. There's a lot of camaraderie that goes on with that. These kids make friends with passing league, and they're able to keep up with them on social media, and they work with each other. And they may be teammates on the next team at some point in time at the next level. But our guys spend that time in the dark working by themselves, and nobody pays a bit of attention to them. But they come in and they work hard. And Coach Hatcher, Coach Bozeman, they've done a good job with those guys up front and getting them ready to play. We have good size. We need a little more depth, but I like everything we've got.
So talked about, last year's team, new players and positions. This year you returned 10 starters on both sides of the ball. So, and the thing that jumps out at me, and we'll talk about it here in just a minute, as I was looking at your roster, is on your offensive line, you've got 4 out of the 5 guys are seniors. 11 out of the 12 on the starting defense are either junior or seniors. On the defensive side of the ball, all 11 of your defensive starters on the depth chart are juniors and seniors. And I know you talk about depth, but starting out, you don't have those freshmen and sophomore. Right. It's in there now. You got junior and seniors.
Compare that list to last year and see what you get. It was not the same. And the good thing was part of the reason our numbers were so small last year is we had 6 or 7 kids hold back in the 8th grade. Best thing they could have done. And that group has come in. It's got good size. It's got good strength. They've been in the weight rooms now for 2 years. Coach Bozeman's had them. They're strong kids. They're still just freshmen. They're still just freshmen, but they're strong kids, and they're going to be ready to play a lot quicker than what they would have had if they come on up when they were not ready. And, last year we had to throw a lot of kids in that we knew physically and mentally could not handle what we were asking them to do. And that's tough as a coach because you always want to build that trust. Credit be to the kids that, we didn't get any reject. Everybody wanted to go out and everybody wanted to play and do the very best they could for us. And hopefully we'll take those lessons in this upper class of juniors and seniors that you're talking about, and we'll use that to become a better team this year because we're certainly going to need it.
So let's meet your team. So, right now you've got 14 seniors, 11 juniors, 9 sophomores, 11 freshmen, and again, you can definitely see 25 juniors and seniors. Let's talk about, and I played skill position. I was far from a lineman, but I always love talking about the linemen and tight ends first because they get so much little recognition. Absolutely. But without them, you don't have any success.
So we'll start in the middle there. We got Zach Cantrell, who's got a scholarship to Kentucky Western and long snapping already. Big accomplishment for him to have that out of your way going into your senior year is really good. And his time snapping are college-level times, and he's been really accurate and really good for us. You got the Oslip kid that's a freshman that's had to step in for us. You've also got the Reed kid that'll have to step in there and play a little bit of center if we need him to, so you can go 3 deep there. And I'm going to call them guards and not left guard and right guard, even though I've got them listed out there. But, Jason Gambrell, Nate Hart, the Keith kid, the Coger kid, the Hall kid, and the Reggie Smith. Those are all guys at the guard positions that can play, and some of them are young and they're getting the reps they need, and they're getting it behind quality guys that are able to do that. The thing that I'll jump off a little bit, the thing we're able to do this year is we're able to practice against 11 decent players on both sides of the ball every day. Last year there was a lot of half line and working on air,
tough.
and you cannot run a program like that. So it's good to have those kids back. If you're looking at the tackle position, I said it last night, Lucas Childers has a college-ready body if that's what he decides to do. He's 6'4", 260, 270, great feet, great arm length, intelligent kid. If he wants to play it, he can absolutely play it. The Reed kid can bounce all the way across the line. We've talked about him. Freshman, the Bartley kid, big kid. If he can put on another 30 or 40 pounds, which I think he will naturally, he's got a little nastiness about him that I really like as a freshman. The game the other night, he was putting people on the ground and making sure they stayed on the ground.
Nice.
So I really like that. The other side over there at tackle, of course, you got Jack Bruner's 2 or 3 started there. You got Zach Carter, who's a freshman there. So you've got several kids that you're talking about that either have experience or getting experience behind guys that do, and that's a big deal. We'll have a JV program this year. We hadn't had the last couple, and everybody thought that we were taking the easy way out, and I promise you, in 2018, we had every junior on the program come in and dress and play just to make sure we had JV. That's how important it is to your program. It's a livelihood. We're going to have that this year, and we've got enough kids, thank goodness, to do that.
Good. So moving to skill positions, we'll stay on the offensive side of the ball, and Josh Bruner is one that kind of took over the quarterback spot last year and played very well for a freshman, going to be a sophomore this year. And you also had Guy Bailey that had to step up after Chase's injury last year and did some special things. Your skill position players, again, you've got a lot of experience there. You've got a lot of athleticism. You've got some people that can make some plays this year.
We do. And, Josh Gross took the reins early last year, and that was an unfair job to him. The blocking was what it needed to be. The receivers were not where we needed to be. It was a tough job, and that young man stepped in and did the very best he could. And he and Josh Bruner ended up splitting time, Josh Gross and Josh Bruner, which helped us immensely. And moving Josh Gross to receiver, to running back type, will help us. That young man can do anything he wants when he's got the ball in his hands. He's athletic, he's fast, and he's physical. And that's the reason you'll see him in the secondary. We'll talk here in a few minutes. But those guys are there. And I said it this other night, Chris Hughes is a freshman. And some people that went to school with him may not take this as a compliment, but Eric Manning is who Chris Hughes reminds me of. In his demeanor, the way he throws the ball, the way he sprints out. And to me, that is a great compliment because Eric's one of my favorite players to ever play here. He's 27-2 as a starter, I believe, and state runner-up and state semifinalist and player of the year. And he was a mean, nasty cuss, but that's what I liked about him. All them boys were, and I loved it about him. And you're getting a little bit of that with Chris. Chris is tough. He's a tough kid. He's young. He's real young. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to ease him into it. And the good thing is you got a kid with Brody Williams that's played that before. Maybe not his natural position, but Brody can step in and play. Brody's your consummate leader, and that's the good thing about him. We'll talk about him defensively in a minute, but we didn't do him any fair shakes, moved him defensively and put him in a no-win situation. But he's a kid that stepped up and never complained, never said a word. If you want to move to the running backs, you talked about Guy Bailey. Guy can do anything he wants to do. He works hard. He never gets tired. I worry about his body breaking down. He does so much, but we've not had any issues with that. He's lifting weights every morning. He'll play every sport known to man. I don't know if people remember the program from the 80s about Go Bo Go. I don't know if they remember that or not, where he played everything, he and Dion. But, and that's what he does. He plays everything. He just loves to compete, and you love kids like that. Having him back just as a junior is a big deal. If we want to get big in the backfield, you got Ryland Carter. You got a freshman, the Bean kid that looks like a senior, still a freshman, but he looks like a senior physically. And you got the Barnes kid that's come in. And, those kids aren't quite ready yet, but they'll spot play for us, and they'll see some time. And, if we need to, we move what we call the 2 or the H backs. And Cam Hughes has had as good a season as he's had, and we need him to continue to do that. He'll run the alley and tackle. He'll catch things. He'll go and compete, and he's tougher than what he's been in the past. And he needs to get tougher even still because we're going to rely on him a lot. it'll be up to him whether we keep coming back to him. But he has done a great job for us. The Felix kid, who's a senior, has come in, and he'll see some time there as well. A freshman, Tanner Smith, against the freshman the other night in the JVs, showed out very well. And the Giglio kid, who's a senior, still trying to figure out the offense, but got everything you want in his potential and what he's able to do. So, we feel pretty good where we are right there and how deep we are. And we'll call them X and Z's, but you don't have to do that. You've got Hayden Dick back, and I think he led us in receiving last year. We talked about moving Gross around, and we can move him anywhere from X to Z to Y to H, and he can play it. He knows it all, being a former quarterback. Does a great job for us. And the Crystal kid has come along and caught a few balls there that, he's starting to show himself, and he needs to show himself more. And in doing so, he's starting to gain the trust a little bit. The Somala kid, number 11, just a junior, need him to come along. He has skills that he refuses to show a lot of times. He can jump, he can catch it, he's got deceptive speed. We just need him to want the ball and want to be that guy, and then he's starting to get there. He's come a long ways, and we're wanting that for him more than anything. The McCaskill kid is a young kid as a junior, but he'll hit you. He'll come and get you. He's catching the ball well. And we got the White kid. Collier come in last year or 2 years ago as a punter, only wanting to punt.
Yeah.
Only wanting to punt. And all of a sudden he's playing corner. He's punting. He's playing receiver. He's a kid that we found that's a big, tall, rangy kid that does a lot of things good. And he likes football.
Turn him into a football player.
That'll do it, man, every time. We love when those guys come along. And you got Gulak. Gulak has come in and as a sophomore has changed his body. He's a kid that needed the JV reps last year and probably would have helped him this year. But he's a physical kid. He'll come get you in a heartbeat. He's also a kid that has deceptive speed, catches the ball decently well, runs good routes. So, when you're looking at those kids there, it's a good little offensive group there, and there's plenty of them. That's the great thing about it. And we're hoping to get to a point where we platoon. It'll make us better early. It'll certainly help us later. If we can get there to platoon, we'll be good. Our tight ends, Tony Palmer came over from PC, catches everything. Need him to block a little more. But great hands, runs great routes. Again, you go back to Brody Williams. Brody does everything. He plays tight end. He catches the ball extremely well. He runs his routes well. Doesn't mess up hardly anything. He's into his scout book. He realizes what's going on. He gets it. The Albright kid and the Griffith kid, both those kids are long-rangey kids, young, still looking for experience, and they'll get that as the season goes along.
So I expect big things out of this offense this year. I know, again, last year we talked about it was, be patient. It was a learning process for those kids. Now you have them all a year later into the system doing the same things. I don't expect much change for your offensive system. A lot of 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver, even empty backfield set, and do some things and run the screen, get the ball to your playmakers out in space, and make things happen.
With that offensive line, we're hoping to play action a little more. If we can get under and make people walk that extra man in the box and play the run, and we can play action over the top of that with some of these kids that I just mentioned, I think it'll be a big play offense for us. Okay. I think we can add that to it. Now, we haven't shown that yet. You've got to be able to run the ball, and like I said, with the 4 returning starters up front, with our quarterbacks, with the people respecting the run with Guy Bailey and Carter and Bean and people like that, it hopefully will become a part of our offense that we'll use a lot.
Okay. So flipping to the opposite side of the ball, on the defensive side, again, I said earlier, you have 11 out of all 11 of them are juniors and seniors, and across the front, you've got Jack Bruner, Chase Keith, and Reed there at the defensive end. You've got some experience there. You've got some bigger bodies that can do something, and Chase there at the nose guard. I look for have him have a big year this year.
He's a kid that had a great weight room. I mean, he's put on 22 pounds or something like that. He's gotten really strong. Bought him with Coach Bozeman. He's a guy that we need to go up and absolutely destroy that center and force a double team. If he can do that for us, he will open up great things for us defensively, because if you can force a double team up front with a 3-man front, you're halfway there, and that's what we need to have. And you already mentioned Jack. Jack, we kind of did a disservice to last year. We didn't have enough linebackers, so we took and put Jack at linebacker. And at heart, he's a defensive lineman. And, we put him. He did what was best for the team. When he got back to D-line, you saw him make play after play.
He's got a lineman mentality, doesn't he?
He does. He's got a mentality. I'll say that. He's got a mentality. You talked about the Reed kid. He was probably our best around, kid that used his hands and technique last year. Excited to have him there, and I got a star beside him there because you may see him at linebacker a little bit. He may come back and help with some of that depth, especially if the Williams kid is able to, to get the eligibility we think he'll be able to get. You got Zach Carter's a freshman there that's going to spend some time. The Coger kid, they call him Mickey from Cincinnati. He's a kid that's been in the weight room too. Just needs experience, and he will grow leaps and bounds when we get it. Whether it's in JV or varsity, it'll help him a great deal to come along. You got Childers, you got Bartley, you got Hart, you got Hall, Oslet, and Gambrell. Big Gambrell, Jason. You can put him in there. Jason can do a lot more than Jason will admit to being able to do. So when you put him in, he loves to compete, and he does so. So we can get big up front. We can kind of get small up there and get quick. So there's some things we can really do that I like for us up front defensively.
And then you move to your linebackers, and again, you've got some experience there. You got some players, obviously, they're going to be going both ways, doing some things, but they're in the middle. You've got Duarte and Rylan Carter. Then you've got at your weak side linebacker Bailey, and then you've got Brody over there at your strong side linebacker. But then you obviously have some depth behind him.
We do. Brody, last year we moved him from I think corner or safety up to outside backer, and that's not fair. And he, physically he wasn't ready for it. But he was a kid that could line us up because he understands the scout book and he understands what the defense is supposed to do. So he had to stay going for the team. And he probably didn't have his best stat year last year. But coaches that know football can look at that and tell why he was there and why he'll be so much better this year. The Duarte kid is finally healthy. Hopefully he'll be in there. Rylan Carter's got to be our bell guy. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to play. He's got to put 4 quarters in. And when he does, he's a very good football player, and he needs to be the leader there. Of course, you've got Guy Bailey. You can always count on him. He can play inside, outside. He's a kid that just loves football. If you put him in and tell him, see ball, hit ball, probably that's what he's best at, and he does a good job with it. The Bean kid, again, he's a kid that looks like a senior. Still a freshman mentality. Got to get him to get a little tougher. The Barnes kid has come along. He will hit everything. He may not know what he's hitting, but he'll hit everything. He's still trying to learn. The Giglio kid, and Josh Bruner, let me say this. The Gulak kid can step in there and play. We moved him up because physically he looks like an outside linebacker, and he'll hit you. The Griffith kid, the Albright kid are kids that you may see some time with. Josh Bruner, and you can thank Coach Moose for this. I always love playing quarterbacks defensively. Coach Moose does not. Yeah. I try to get Kai to play a heck of a lot more defense than what he did when he was here. Everybody would just lose their mind. Eric Manning didn't have an issue playing it. There's several that didn't. Those tough guys I enjoy. And like I said, injuries happen. It's part of it. People will call me nuts. I want my best 11 out there on both sides of the ball. So we have a little disagreement with that. They're probably smarter than I am. Not probably, they are. We need to keep those kids, you know what I'm saying. But Josh Bruner is a kid that can step up and play. He's physical. He'll get after you. He understands it. Just right now he's more important to us at another place than he is right there. But you don't be surprised if you see him at some point in time.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, though, that at the end of the day, you're the head coach.
I am.
And so I think maybe you might win that argument.
But I've been in it 26 years, and sometimes I feel like I try to make a square peg fit in a round hole sometimes. And, my attitude and my personality sometimes gets us in trouble. So I appreciate those guys.
So moving to your secondary, you've got some kids back there that, obviously Josh and Cam back there in secondary, but Collier at cornerback and Lee Felix at corner. That's going to be a new place for. I don't know if he got a whole lot of action there last year, did he?
He did not. He wasn't with us last year.
Right.
Hayden has come back from injury, so he's a kid that'll step there and play. Those 4 you mentioned right across the top, I think you've got 2 really good safeties in 13 and 6 back there. I think they're physical. I think they'll run to the ball. I think they'll hit the ball. They do a good job of running the alley, and they're both group cover guys, and we need those guys to stay healthy and play. Collier White, we need to get a little more physical out there tackling and stick his nose in there. Great cover, 6'1", 6'2"-ish type kid, long, lanky, what you would expect to have in a corner, and he's got a knack for the ball. And the McCaskill kid, keep an eye on him. He's a kid that's going to push a lot of people. He's physical. He's starting to understand it. You can see his body starting to mature into a young man, and he's starting to get the growth and the muscles and things that he needs. And if he'll put that with his aggressiveness, he's going to be more than okay. And we've got Samala. Hasn't played a lot, probably needs to play more. He's a kid that can step in and play. More offensive mentality than defense, but he's a skilled kid that can step in and play. Tanner Smith has stepped in, and you saw a little bit there. McChrystal and Chris Hughes, the freshman, who plays some in secondary. If we can get this group together, keep them healthy, it could be the most experienced group on the field.
You've said that a couple of times through this about health and keeping injury free. And again, you can have all the juniors and seniors that you want on offense and defense, but they've got to stay healthy and be able to keep them out there.
If they're sitting next to you with 5 minutes into the game or 5 minutes into the scrimmage, injuries happen. But if they're sitting next to you, then you have to move a lot of people around, especially in 2A ball, and you don't get your best lineups. And when that happens, we have to rob Peter to pay Paul sometimes. That's also more reps, more wind, more running on somebody that we were trying to platoon or trying to give, keep them rested and keep them ready to play because it's hot in August and it's a long four quarters. So, you hope to stay healthy. And continuity we could never get last year. Mm-hmm. And when you play together with this offense, defense, if you play together with continuity, you're going to be a better team, and that's what we're hoping for.
So we've always talked about, three phases of the game. You've talked about the offense and defense. Your special teams this year. You talked about Zach Cantrell at your long snapper, some of the things that he's been able to do, and looking at maybe going on to college there. But your holders, your place kickers, your punters, and your punt return and kick return guys all play obviously a huge part in the game and make things easier for your offense and your defense.
Absolutely, with the skill that we have back there, if we can get on up front and just stay on like we're supposed to, you could see several scores with this group because I really believe they've got the speed, they've got the quickness to bring it back. You mentioned Cantrell. One unique thing about the Hughes kid, Cam, is that he can long snap. And, that's not a bad thing to have. And like I said, he's a jack of all trades, really proud of how much he's grown and continue to. The all-sip kid has been working on it as well. Brody steps in as a holder. If you need to, Aidan Wesley will step in. Chris Hughes can step in and hold. There's several kids that I'm not mentioning there that will step in and will hold and do a good job. Your kickers right now are sophomores, Ethan and Anderson Rubel. We had a Kelsey kid transferring from Wayne, waiting, for his paperwork and things like that to come back. Our punters will be Collier White, what he originally came to do. Right. So he'll punt for us a little bit. The Kelsey kid, not eligible just yet, but when he gets eligible, he'll compete for that. And, you got Guy Bailey, jack of all trades again. If we need to put him in, he'll probably be a rugby-style kicker, which always is a threat of the fake with it. And,
right.
With Guy, he's a physical kid, so on a 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, it will not be a tough call sometimes to go ahead and let him go ahead and try to pick that up. Your returners, like I said, Hughes, Bailey, Cross, Felix, Young Hughes, Gross. You've got several kids when you put them back there that could take it at any point in time, and that's why we spend a lot of time in that third phase of the game that we're talking about now, trying our very best to get on and stay on up front, give it time for that running back or that returner to catch that ball and hit it wide open. If he does that, it's going to split it wide open. We're going to have some success in the special teams game.
You talked about Cantrell and Hughes as long snappers, and people in the stands watching the game, even the ones that know something about football, don't take into account how important that snap is. And you got Brody, who's been back there. I think he's been a holder now for maybe 4 years, if not 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And getting that snap back there in time, on target, hold down for the extra points, the field goals, on your punts. You don't have a lot. There's so much that person brings to it. And I know Castle Hatcher, he came in as your long snapper there a couple of times.
He did.
And you had Peyton and Speaks. I mean, you've had some good ones there that, again, that goes unnoticed and is a big part.
Until they mess up, you never really pay attention to them. As a former long snapper myself, until you mess up, and I did against the number 10 team in the nation at Cumberland, they don't really know who you are until you do that. All it takes is one eye snaps. Those kids also, got their head between their legs. They're snapping. They've got to trust the officials and people around them and make sure nobody takes a cheap shot on them or anything like that. It's a very, very difficult job, and some people say, it's no big deal. There was a game 3 or 4 years ago, I think Alex Hamm was maybe a sophomore, and he was our 5th-team snapper. And he ends up having to snap on like the 7-yard line coming out and came and did a great job for us. So having that many kids that can snap, that understand it, really benefits you in this phase. And we don't, I promise you this, we're 20, 25 minutes every day on it. We don't take it for granted.
And, you talked about having Bailey in the rugby style. I know you had Cade Grundy back there in that same kind of position. Yes. He put so much pressure on that defense, not knowing what was going to happen, what he could do, and he actually turned in some big plays.
Well, he did. Let me say this: he put pressure on the coaching staff too, because some of them we didn't know what he's going to do with it, okay? So it wasn't exactly all of them were called. I'm kidding partially. I mean, but when you got an athlete back there that has that type of confidence and feels like they can pick up that first down for you, sometimes you let them go and let them gamble.
So that's your 2022 Somerset Briar Jumper football team. Look at the offense and defense and special teams. The schedule this year, there's not a whole lot of change to it. You'll have one new addition that kind of takes place, and that's going to be the opening game of the year, and just 3 days away. It'll be up at Lincoln County again, the Death Valley Bowl. You're going to open up with Garrett County this year. Talk about Garrett a little bit.
That game got moved to 6 o'clock. I know some of our schedules say 8, but after they hired a new coach at Lincoln, he requested that we switch that, so we play in the early game at 6 o'clock. Garrett County is a big football team up front. They've got 3 or 4 kids. 2 of them are 6'3", 260, 270. They've got a 6'5", 6'6", 290 kid that plays there. They've got good speed. The thing they don't have is a lot of numbers, and we're hoping to be able to use that against them. But they looked in pretty good shape at the scrimmage the other night. It's just a matter of of being able to get them in there and wear them out if we can. But a well-coached football team, Spencer will do a great job with it, and a well-coached football team. Yeah,
and so you open up with them on the road, and then you get to come back to the Briar Patch, home opener against Russell County.
Oh, we're on the road there. I apologize.
I'm sorry, that one's on the road?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
so
sir.
Russell's out on the road. Yeah. So your first game is going to be at home against Beechwood?
Correct.
Is that correct? So the 2 of them on the road.
Correct.
Then you have Beechwood. Then you travel again to Paintsville before you come home for a 3-game stand, and you get the Red Hounds from Corbin, Williamsburg, and Hazard before you get into your district play. And I know you and I for years have talked about your preseason, your pre-district, your district, and your postseason. You have a schedule here before the pre-district that should get you ready for the district coming in this year, but there's definitely some challenges there.
There's some big physical football teams there. There's a state championship team there. There's a state runner-up team there. We host Beechwood, who was a state champion the last 2 years, and we've got LCA in our district that's been the runner-up the last 2 years. And don't expect it to be much different this year. Both those are quality coaches with quality teams. It'll be very, very difficult because of how well they're coached, how physical they'll be. We'll be able to tell who we are really quickly and what we're about with those and what we need to reach. And you talked about Williamsburg. Williamsburg's always in it. Corbin supposedly has the strongest team they've ever had. Paintsville is 1 year removed from a state title game, right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Hazard's been 2 or 3 times. Danville thought they lost everything. You read about them. They sprouted linemen at 6'3", 260 and have more speed than what they've had in a while, which is classic Danville. LCA, they do a good job of bringing kids in and out of there and getting them eligible. They're ready for Bear. Washington County is the group last year that was kind of like us. They struggled a little bit last year, but I expect them to be better this year. They dealt with COVID and a lot of things like that.
So you've got that your season there in a nutshell. We can talk a little bit about that if we have some time here. But one thing that I do not want to let go and make sure that we get the time in is because I know how much that you rely on your assistant coaches and your support staff and the people that help you with this program. And I want to make sure that we're able to touch on those guys.
Appreciate it. Great continuity with Jared Swearers, our defense coordinator. Same with Matt Singleton, who's our offensive coordinator. The old man, George Hatcher's our offensive line guy and absolutely loves it. He comes out, I think it's 57 years of coaching or something like that. Comes out every day like a 19, 20-year-old coach with a lot of energy and ready to go. Kevin Sharon will be in and out of there a little bit. He's following his son around, so we get him sparingly. But we're glad to have him. You got Castle Hatcher coaches his quarterbacks and defensive backs, and Castle is a fine, fine young coach. He is a guy that I think will be a head coach one day. I think Singleton and I think Moose are ready to be head coaches as well. We got Alex Hamm that's coming down to help us on Friday nights, and most kids that are engineering majors wouldn't have time for us, but thank goodness Alex does. He does a great job with us. His parents are worried he's going to become a coach before he's an engineer. We're going to try to stop that, but he's a heck of a coach as it comes through. Daniel Ruckle helps with the running backs and our defensive backs, and he's a guy that's seen most of the world and has a lot of things that he can talk to our kids about and influence our kids with. Jason Wharf on the sideline is always there. He's usually got the iPads up and ready to go. We'll help him talk with kids. You got Jason Rubel, who without him, we have about $18,000 worth of boat anchors running around there because we can't, any of us, running without him. He does a great job. You got Dr. Stephen Sims, a guy that keeps us all together. Made the joke the other night that he spends more time on the coaching staff now than he does the players. The staff's gotten a little bit older, but Stephen does a great job with their kids. You got Max Messimo that's still around on the sideline. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our administration. Kyle Lively, Jeff Wesley, principal, our vice principal, Glenn Baker, and our athletic director, Kevin Burkett. And they do a great job. You can simply look around and see how much they care about it.
Yes.
The support we get is second to none. It's I work with some really good administrations, but this is by far the best. And, of course, last but not least, is D. Cornett, our Boost Club president, had a rough year last year, has bounced back like nothing had happened. And that's just a testament to a strong-willed person. There for kids, does everything we ask her to do, runs a great program and takes care of all of us the way that you would hope somebody would.
Yeah, well, we're glad that she is better. I know that she had the accident and come back from that and came back strong, so we are glad that she is healthy. Small school atmosphere, Somerset, some of the things that go on, the traditions that they have there, the jumper walk before the first game, the float tradition for homecoming, all the stuff that goes on here at a Somerset school like that. And you talk about the camaraderie with the kids and the students. Playing at Somerset, it's special. Yeah. It really is.
We take it for advantage here, but I'll be quite honest with you. I don't know a lot of schools that still do the parades, that still do the floats. The jumper walk is something a little different. They started several years ago. That's just added to the tradition. The community's involved. There's a lot of people that are always calling, hey, Coach, what can we do? Do you need anything? Good luck. Our administration is always there. The first thing out of their mouth is good for kids, and if it is, we usually don't have to ask twice. So it is a very special place to play and coach. I've been other places and coached other places. It's not like this everywhere. We're very fortunate in what we have and who we have and have a very special program.
So, we love, get those people out to support the Briar Jumpers this year. First game is at 6 o'clock this year up at Lincoln County. Death Valley Bowl playing against Garrett County. And I mistakenly said the first home opener was Russell. But, both those games close. Get out, go support these young men, these coaches. They have earned the respect and the support from this group. And then the first home game at home, tough opponent, Beechwood. Everybody needs to come out and help support there. But we're looking forward to the season this year. I know I don't have the schedule here to share with everybody yet, but I know that we will have the Briar Jumpers as our video game of the week at least twice this year that you can watch if you're not able to go out to the field. We want everybody to go out when you can. Excuse me, and see, the field has been there with the turf and the end zone for the kids, the new scoreboard, state championship banner posted up there. If you haven't got a chance to get out and see it, you're definitely missing one of the first-class stadiums, programs in the state. You need to come out and see these guys.
Absolutely. Investing in these kids will be the best investment you make. They're really fun to watch. They're good kids. They ain't perfect, but they're really good kids, and they're what I enjoy coaching, and I think the community will really like them as well.
So, again, we're down here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. If you have time, you haven't got down here yet, come on down, support them. We have two other coaches will be coming in here in just a few minutes. I know Coach Johnny Hines will be with Mike Kerr here in just a few minutes, and then we will have Coach Foley from Southwestern after that. But I want a big thank you, Coach. Appreciate you coming down tonight, talking about your team, talking about your players, and taking the time to be with us tonight.
Appreciate y'all doing what you do and giving our kids an opportunity to get some exposure. It means a lot. Our kids appreciate it, and our school does well. Thank you.
Again, so for Coach Lucas, again, go on. You can find us on Facebook at LakeCumberlandSports.com. All the player interviews that that Bob Boone has been doing, you can go back and watch those. If you missed anything from tonight's conversation with Coach Lucas, you can go back and watch that. And if not, well, thank you guys, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, John Hines.
How we doing tonight?
We okay, Pat? Good evening. Good to see you, Coach.
Good evening. Well, thank you.
You brought me all kinds of good stuff.
Good to be here. We appreciate LakeCumberlandSports.com doing all this and
Wings and
Rings and all the folks that are involved. We're excited about another season.
You may need that, by the way, because when we get started. All right, everybody, if you just joined us, this is segment 2 of our coaches show, and thanks to Robbie Lucas, head football coach at Somerset, for segment 1, and now John Hines, the grizzled veteran of coaching in this area. I hate to say that, but I think is this season number 24, Coach, at Pulaski?
It's actually season 28.
But as a head coach.
As a head coach, season 24. So it's been a long time. I told a lot of folks, I was doing an interview not long ago, and they were talking about that stuff, and I said, when I first came here in 1995, honestly, I thought I'd be a year or two and move on to something else.
They did too.
Here we are, still here.
Yeah, we go way back, and a lot of people know that. We have done this together every year that you have been the head football coach at Pulaski County, and a couple years with Coach Kane before that.
Yep.
And have got to know you, knew you already, but got to know you very well, very comfortable around each other, and it makes what we do really, really nice. And I want to thank you now for everybody to know how well you do treat us and how open you are with us. And sort of hard not to hope good guys do well every now and then.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Like I said, Mike, LakeCumberlandSports.com and the things that you guys do and have done for a long, long time. We sure appreciate you all being there and being a part of our program.
I guess one of the good things about doing this is we'll try to jump into this so you can start talking about your athletes and your football team. But one of the good things about this is being together this long. We've been through highs and lows and ups and downs and maybe a tear here and there and celebrations that are just unbelievable. And, every year we do this, and I can see it in your eye. I hear it in your voice. This is a new year of football, and team 39, right?
39.
And this Pulaski County football team, and you've put all that stuff in the rearview mirror. You're ready to go, right?
We are excited about the new season. There's an air of excitement, I think, around our program that we haven't had in a long time. We've had some magnificent facility upgrades that have been a long time coming, and that makes things exciting. And we can't wait to get this thing rolling.
I wondered if you were going to take us there. First off, we'll go there now because it has been a bone of contention. It's been a topic of conversation. It's been discussion, whatever they want to say, for years now because of the fact Pulaski's football field was built at a time when football wasn't maybe a priority. It was just getting started. And the field itself, not the related facilities, but the field, the lighting was a little suspect too, but the field itself was just a difficult field to play on and maintain, and you guys deserved better. But you persevered through it, and now I encourage everybody, all 3 schools now have unbelievable facilities, and it's great for the kids.
Oh, it is. It's great great facilities, great for the players to play on. You can use it for so many more things, so many more events and all the things that can go on.
You had a soccer game there last night, I think.
Yeah, you can play soccer. Our middle school football team's going to play there. We'll have some youth league games there as well. You don't worry about the mud bowls and all those sort of things. So we're really excited about that, and it just adds a little bit to everybody's excited around Pulaski County this time of the year anyway because it's football season, but that adds just a little extra piece of excitement.
If they could just get full excitement like you carry this time of year, I love it. Now, the voice is still with you.
It comes and goes.
We'll make it through probably the first 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden we'll end up with, oh, Mike. And you and I will have to talk on the phone. I'll have to ask you to yell at me. But anyway, all right, let's talk about Pulaski County Maroon football this year. We always look back, and we're not going to spend a lot of time in the rearview mirror. the expectation level I think that you guys have reached out there is amazing, because I can remember far enough back when 7 wins or 8 wins or something like that, and a district championship or runner-up or a region championship or a runner-up was just a thought, an out there type, let's reach, let's go. Now you guys go into the season, put the bullseye on yourself.
Well, I think that just comes with the territory. You, as you start building a program, as we did many years ago, you have dreams, winning district championship, winning region championship, Seminole State, whatever. And as you get to that level where you finally realize we're competitive enough to do it, then that dream becomes a goal. And then when you achieve that goal, it kind of becomes an expectation.
Well, that's
kind of where we've been for a while.
We got to start talking football, or they're going to shoot me over here. But I saw a comment from Cole Drawn, and we'll leave yesteryear now. But I saw a comment from him. You had taken a picture of the old practice field down there, and to say it's low-lying and a little swampy would be an understatement. And you talked about all the hard work and effort that went in down there, and Cole had made a comment about it. And, that's really to the point right there. That's good stuff. I don't know if anybody saw it, but
it is.
It has been a trip.
It has. And I've heard from many former players, not just Cole, but many guys that spent a lot of time on that practice field. They'll never forget it.
Think once a year you mow it down, even with the new turf field after this, and you go
have an alumni
have one practice or something. All right, let's talk about this year's. We've seen the Maroons in a couple scrimmages. You guys have had 2 home scrimmages. One of them was at Casey County, and the other one was at Taylor County.
That's right.
That's an inside joke, guys. But both of those scrimmages I got to see, and a couple things that'll jump out from the novice side of the fence. Right?
Yeah.
Took care of the football, moved the football, and the defense played pretty good, and you didn't commit a lot of turnovers. And I'll be honest, the team looked really good for 2 early season scrimmages.
Well, we did a lot of good things in those first 2 scrimmages. We really did. We've had a good training camp. Mike, we told you our practices were good in the summer. The kids have worked hard. This is a team that goes out and puts in hard work every day, and it shows. And we did a lot of good things in the scrimmages. Now, certainly a lot of area to improve on that we've got to zero in on and polish. But for the first couple times of actually lining up against another team, we were very pleased. So there's a lot of potential here.
So Friday night here on Lake Cumberland Sports at about 7 o'clock, we'll go live, and you all kick it off at about 7:30 somewhere over in Belfry, Kentucky, the Pond Creek Nation, as they like to call it. And look forward to that. Not the trip. I look forward to the football game that's associated with the trip to Belfry. But you all gave Belfry a uncharacteristic beating last year here. The score not quite – I mean, the game wasn't as lopsided maybe, but you all took care of business against Belfry. And I'm sure, Coach, the winningest coach in Kentucky high school football, Philip Haywood, probably said something to his team somewhere along the way here as they're coming over here Friday night. And I think they'll be more than ready for you guys when you show up.
Well, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure they want some revenge. But, you got to hand it to them to start their season off the way they did in our game.
0-5, right?
And I think went 0-5.
I think they did.
And turned the corner and won the state championship in Class 3A.
For the 8th time.
So, very good team. They just hadn't quite put the pieces together, I guess, early in the season.
I was going somewhere with that question, Swaz.
Gotcha.
Sometimes I'm leading you somewhere.
But, I'm sure they're not happy about getting beat last year, and they want a little revenge, and we got to travel to their place. It's a tough place to play, tough place to go win. There's not many teams that go to Belfry and come out of there with a win up there on Pond Creek.
May I tell you that I've been to Belfry a few times with 2 of the local schools, yours and Southwestern, playoff games in the past, and the win last year was the first time You beat them here at home, but that's the first time I ever saw Belfry lose to a Pulaski County football. I think in the history of the program, it's like 1-4 or something, 1-5 against them.
Yeah, well, I know we played them 3 years in a row when Coach Kane was the head coach. We played them in the playoffs back in those days, and we were 0-3 then. And then I don't think we played them again until we opened the season over there 2 years ago.
Right.
And lost that one too.
I remember.
So it's been a lopsided series between us and Belfry.
All right, they started out last year 0-5 with a younger team trying to find themselves, and they did. This year you start out, although you've lost a couple of valuable parts, let's jump into your football team. I think you've got 8 on offense and 9 on defense, or vice versa, starters coming back. You've got 15 seniors, which for you, I mean, I can remember years of 4 and 5. So you have a veteran football team.
That's true. It's one of the few times really in the past several years where you can say that. We have several seniors on the team that have played a lot of football before, have been starters, some of them since their junior year and sophomore year. So there's a lot of game experience there, and hopefully that's going to play into a positive situation for us. Experience is a big deal when you get late in the game. Experience is a big deal in the district run, playoff weeks, all those types of things. You know, guys that have been there before understand what it takes to get there and win, and hopefully that's going to be a plus.
You take this football team, offense is what everybody wants to talk about, so we will, but me, I'd rather talk about defense, but we'll get there too. Your offense, Duggar will step in at quarterback this year. He played a lot of snaps last year when Polson was down for a little bit. Competitively speaking, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, I don't know what other sports he might have played as a youngster, but he's a young man that when you give him the reins to something, you know he's going to drive it.
He does a good job. You know, he's a very good athlete, as you mentioned. He's an outstanding baseball player, basketball player as well. So he's a well-rounded athlete. He's got all the natural athletic skills that you want to see in a quarterback. He moves well. He sees the field well. He's got good vision. Got a really good arm, strong arm. He can get the ball to all parts of the field. So it's just a matter of us being able to pool those talents and put it all together. And I think he's going to have a terrific season. He's off to a great start. He's had as good a training camp as any player on the team since July.
Let's go to Taylor County last Friday night. Taylor County is a good football team. Expected to win their district from what I read, and of course you can read whatever, but he completed 2/3 of his passes, 300 yards, no picks, and I don't think was sacked. My memory doesn't allow me one, but anyway, that tells me that you've got a quarterback who has matured into the job, and we all know a quarterback in your offense gets a big load. They get it dumped. I mean, they have to run a pretty complex offense.
Well, yeah, they're driving the boat, if you want, if you want to say it that way. But he's done a terrific job. I think the biggest thing that Bryson has done is being able to make good decisions and not put us in a position of a bad play, turning the ball over, putting the ball where it doesn't need to go, take what the defense gives you. All those coaching adages that you hear forever.
One of those maturity things.
It's exactly what it is. And he's really done that. As I said, he's got a terrific arm. You know, he's one of the guys that we haven't had an arm like this in a long time. He can reach the far corners of the field. And he's had a terrific training camp. We expect him to play well and play well all season long.
Well, everybody knows you throw it on every down, so let's talk about your running back. I love some of the missed stuff that I hear when I go around the state and I talk to people. Well, you know, Pulaski, they just line up and throw it all over the yard. And at the end of the year, you'll look, and you guys will be about 55, 45 pass to run, but don't let facts get in the way of a good story. So on the ground, who are you going to hand it to this year?
Well, we've got two our feature running back position. We've got two guys that are really doing a good job so far this season. Cody Nichols is a senior who will be the starter at that position, and Trey Hornsby, a junior, will step in there and play it as well. Both those guys run the ball hard. They're very physical, hard runners. They catch the ball well out of the backfield. They pass protect well, so they do all the things we need them to do. I think they're going to really give us an opportunity with our offensive line and the improvement that we've had there. I think they're going to give us an opportunity to have a really solid running game, something we really haven't done well the last couple of years.
Let's go to that offensive line. We'll get to those receivers that we're kind of pushing to the back of the page right now. They get enough press. Your offensive line, by my memory, returns 4 starters from last year. You've got 6 or 7, it looked to me like, in the scrimmage who were kind of floating in and out, rotating in and out. You have a veteran offensive line for the first time that I can remember in a long time that you run guys out there who have taken hundreds of snaps.
Right.
And that's got to be a plus.
Got to be. Guys like Declan Hayes, who started as a freshman.
And he's been at center for 4 years.
Started as a freshman at center, enters his 4th year as a starter. Bryston Brown, who was a terrific offensive lineman last year. Of course, Bryston was injured at midseason.
The knee
missed the rest of the season. He's back, healthy. He's worked hard in the offseason to get that knee healthy and just having a terrific camp. We're so proud of him. J.J. McEwen is I think he started a few times his freshman year, but it definitely been a 3-year starter at left tackle. And then Tyler Johnson stepped into that right guard position last year. He's back. He'll be a junior. So those 4 guys, as you said, started most every game last year on the offensive line. The lone spot that was a senior, Carter Kring, who graduated.
Right.
So a guy, Mason Hall, has stepped up to claim that spot. Camden Denham's another one that's getting some reps there. He's working hard to get some playing time there. And there's a lot of guys that you're going to see probably in and out of that lineup, as you mentioned. Dylan Elliott is he's a junior who's done a good job on the offensive line. And we got several young players. Colton Kane's a freshman. Brody Johnson's a freshman. Big Michael Markham's a freshman. Behind them, Aidan Wesley is a guy that's playing well at the center position. Samuel Whittaker. Both these guys are juniors that can step in there and play. A new person to our program back in the winter, Colin Grover, moved in. Hasn't played with us yet, came in the offseason, but he's worked out all offseason long. He'll be a sophomore. He's got an opportunity to play a lot on the offensive line. So there's a lot of moving parts there, if you will, but those 4 returning starters are the guys that we're going to have to build around to really have a solid run game and really protect our quarterback and give him time to do his thing.
Part of that run game is also the tight end in your offense that you've got to have. You reached across the football and stole a guy off the defensive line who's a pretty good athlete in and of himself, and I think I think he caught a touchdown pass to Taylor County Friday night, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe he did. May have caught 2.
May have caught 2, okay.
Aidan Wesley be a senior. Aidan came into our program as a tight end and a defensive end, and we've kind of funneled him into that defensive end slot because that was such an area of need at that time, and he's done a great job. He started as a sophomore and has always played well on the defensive line. Dealt with a shoulder injury last year that kind of slowed him up a little bit. He's back healthy and playing well, doing a great job at that tight end position, as you said. We've got a young freshman that we're gaga over that's doing a great job, Zach Anderson, who's going to play a lot of varsity tight end. He's just a prototype for that position. Also a quarterback, played middle school quarterback last year. We've got young guys like Andrew Dodson, who's back for his junior year, who can also play tight end. Spencer Allen has played some tight end. We've kind of funneled him to outside linebacker right now and giving him a little more opportunity there, but he can play the tight end position. So a lot of moving parts there, but going into these first 2 scrimmages, Aidan Wesley's played extremely well. Zach Anderson has come on with some quality relief, so looks like that's the route we're going in the first game.
We're going to talk about your wide receivers, but I'm going to go ahead and do a promo right here and let you get a drink of water so you can catch your breath. You're watching Lake Cumberland Sports' coaches show from Buffalo Wings and Rings. We want to thank y'all for joining in. Every time one of the local teams tees it up this year, somewhere playing this game of football, Lake Cumberland Sports will be there. Look on our website, some of the games video, a lot of the games audio. We are set up to try to do a video game of the week That will happen if things go to accord, but you can find all the local teams, and I don't think anybody else can say that. All 3 local schools we covered every Friday night, unless they play on Saturday, which somebody reminded me that the Simon Kenton game that Somerset has is a Saturday game, so I got to change my spiel a little bit. But anyway, this Friday night at 7 o'clock, we will be in Belfry, and we invite you to make the trip over and support the Pulaski County Maroons. If you can't make the trip to Belfry, tune us in. We'll be right there with them. All right, Coach, we put this off for a while. Pulaski County has a history of producing some top-shelf wide receivers. You had one last year that after Williams got hurt, Godby stepped up and became a 1,000-yard receiver after Williams had been All-State the year before, by my memory, as a wide receiver. And now both of them are back, and I'd like to say it's great news, but I'll let you break the news to your fans about Williams and the accident at the game Friday night.
Well, just a very unfortunate situation. Barrick was injured in the scrimmage over at Taylor County, injured his elbow. And, we really don't know the extent yet or how long he's going to be out. So that's heartbreaking. He was having a terrific camp. It's the first time, Mike, that I can ever remember of all the great wide receivers we've had over the years that we've had 2
at the same
all-state wide receivers on the team together.
Yeah, that's kind of unheard of.
So Barrick Williams and Chandler Godby, those guys, they kind of set the tone and they lead the way. And both of them are terrific players. And there's another young guy in Harris Denmeyer who shows a lot of zip, and he played a lot of varsity ball last year.
He has some quicks.
He can run, gets open well, catches the ball well. Jalen Wooldridge is a young guy that we moved out to wide receiver this year. He's always been a quarterback for us. Played wide receiver coming up in the middle school ranks before he got moved to quarterback. And he's just a good athlete, a big, tall kid who can run, catches the ball well. He's going to make the start Friday night at wide receiver. So all those guys are really doing a good job. We've got some young ones behind them that we're tickled with the way they're working out. Broderick Finley is a sophomore that's got a lot of potential as a wide receiver. Kyle Wethington is a first-time player. He'd be a junior, but he's never played before, showing a lot of promise in the scrimmages. Connor Flynn's a freshman that can play that outside spot. Levi Almond is a freshman that shows a lot of spark running and catching the ball, running good routes, catching the ball. Bryston Mounts is brand new to football, but he's doing a good job. He's a freshman. So we're going to see some good things out of those guys in some of the younger level games. But we're excited about what those guys can do and how they run and how they catch the ball. And but it all starts, as you said, with Chandler and Barrick.
So we're talking offense, and we're going to swap the page now. We're going to go to the defensive side of the football, but sandwich in the middle of this, special teams, because generally when I get a chance to watch preseason scrimmages, and this year fortunately got to see both of them since they were at home, and got to watch. I watched those. Yeah, I watched those games, and I can honestly say generally mess-ups, screw-ups, whatever in your special games. You remember those. You say, okay, they made a bad snap on a punt. They had a kick block. They, messed up an onside kick. They did whatever that they were doing. They just didn't really look in sync. Your special teams, particularly, you didn't punt the ball, which that's saying enough, but your special teams look to me like you want to just pull that one off the page and play it Friday night. They look pretty good.
Well, we work a lot on it, Mike. We really do. And I'm proud of the way the kids take to it. They believe in it. They understand that special teams is a key part of the game and can turn the game, can create momentum probably faster than any other way other than a turnover. So we've got to be good in special teams, and we want to win the special teams battle every Friday night. Coach Phil Russell and Coach Joey Warren, who's back on our staff, are both our special teams guys, and they do a great job with all those units. And we're really proud of the way that they're coming on. There's a lot of good things that to be had there, but we've got a veteran, if you will, kicker who's only a sophomore in Ethan Idlewine. So, he took over the kicking duties last year. He's pretty much automatic on the extra points, very solid. got a good, strong leg, and he'll do the kickoff duties as well and probably do most of the punting. Cody Nichols can also punt. He's shown a lot of promise there as a punter. I mentioned Bryson Mounts, who's a freshman who had never kicked a ball in his life. Football, that is. He's been a soccer guy.
Right.
So he's learning, but he's really showing a lot of promise as a kicker and doing a great job there as well. So our kicking game has been very solid. Xander Simpson is a terrific long snapper. Zach Anderson, a freshman, can long snap as well. J.J. McEwen, the senior tackle, can long snap. And we've got some other guys that are working at it that snap the ball well. Holders, Chandler Gobby does a good job. Harris Denmeyer does a good job as a holder as well. Connor Flynn's another freshman that's been working as a kicker some. So there's a lot of pieces to put together there. And at some point, one of them will really, distance themselves from the other. Trey Hornsby punted a lot for us last year. He can punt. So there's a lot of folks there that can get that job done. But what we're really proud of so far in the 2 scrimmages in this kicking game is the other folks. Not so much the snapper, holder, and kicker, but the guys covering the kicks.
You haven't given up the big play.
The guys covering the punts. The guys protecting the kicker, the kick return guy. So those are things that we feel like can flip the field, can create momentum, and put us in a good situation.
You even got a block kick the other night, and Gunnar Lovelace, to my memory, picked it up and took it 57 yards to the house. So we'll get that out of the way. They're notioning me that me and you're going to have to speed things up. So let's talk about the defense just a little bit, because that's the part of the game that I mean, offense is cool to watch, and y'all running all over the place and doing stuff. But defense on this football team, your linebackers historically and the defense that you play, those are the names that the people hear a lot on Friday night. It's the way you're designed. But the guys up front, we'll start with them, because if they do their job, one, they won't get their name called a lot, but the linebackers will be making the tackles as they're supposed to, and your defense will look good.
Well, yeah, that's the way it's designed. But,
yes.
We feel good about the defensive line. We lost a couple of really nice defensive linemen last year, and Ryan Dye and Christian Slavey. So there's some holes there. There's a lot of playing time to be had. Jay Bales will be a junior, started most of the season at defensive end last year. We consider him a returning starter, obviously. Connor Haste, if you'll remember, was actually started the first game against Belfry and got injured.
Yes. And
missed the rest of the season. So a very frustrating year for him, but he's come back healthy and doing a great job on the defensive line. Aidan Wesley, we talked about already as a defensive lineman. He's played there for 3 years now. Taylor Robbins is back with us, as a senior, playing a defensive end position. I'm sorry.
You all right? Take a drink. We're good.
Dylan Elliott, the junior, can play nose tackle, can play defensive end. Bryston Brown, who I mentioned as an offensive lineman, he's getting some work on the D-line along with J.J. McEwen. So those guys give us an opportunity to really maybe beef up the defense
you took
a little
the words
bit.
Right,
yeah. So all those guys are doing well. You mentioned Gunnar Lovelace, who's a young sophomore, had a touchdown in the game the other night. He's played extremely well. Matter of fact, he's worked himself on some of those special teams. You'll see him on Friday night. Decker Wheeldon, a freshman. Big Mike Markham, I mentioned before. Ben Pritchard's another freshman. Samuel Whittaker, Jonathan Sargent, Luke Mounts, and Kevin Perez. All those guys are young, fighting for some playing time and working hard on the defensive line. Coach Jason Roberts does a great job with those guys.
I hope we feed you when we're done. I've been watching Chris Staten, who will be my partner this year on Pulaski football. I've been watching him. He's been eating since we got here. I don't know. Evidently, we'll have to increase the travel budget. All right, we talked about those linebackers. And in your I look at either the linebacker or a safety is always going to be the leading tackler on your football team. That's just by design. Hopefully it's the linebacker maybe a little more than the safety at times, because, one, it means maybe you're getting to be downhill a little more, but also you don't want your safety making all your tackles, because that's not the great. Anyway, let's start with Leighton Avid. I don't know if people really understand just where he stacks up in the big picture, yeah, Pulaski has a lot of good quarterbacks. Pulaski has a lot of good wide receivers. Pulaski's turned out a whole bunch of really good linebackers, and he falls right into that category.
Well, he sure does. As a matter of fact, he made honorable mention All-State last year, so we're excited to have him back for his senior year. And Leighton is a tackling machine. You know, I heard an old coach put it this way one time. There's three kind of defensive guys. There's the guys that want to tackle, and there's guys that will tackle. You know, if the ball comes out, they'll tackle. But if it's over there, and then there's guys that really don't want to tackle.
Yeah,
they really don't. But those guys that want to tackle, they're a different breed, and that's what Leighton Avid is. He's going to run through blocks. He's going to chase you to the concession stand if you go there. He wants to make the tackle on every play, and he's made a bunch of them. He's got an outside chance, believe it or not, to break Connor Hargis' all-time tackling record.
I saw that in something maybe you posted that he was in. And, of course, thank you for all the information that you and Paul Wright have put together over the years. I'll sound like I know that stuff Friday night because I'll have it in front of me. But, yeah, and again, I just watch him play, and you're right. He's sideline to sideline. He's north and south. He's wherever. And if you – I told him – we joked about it. I said, if you miss who got the tackle on Friday night –
probably him.
Say 50 was in on the tackle, and you're going to be right so many times.
That's very true. Very true. So that's where we start. You know, the other inside linebacker, it looks like, is going to be a young sophomore, Drew Avid. You'll remember that he broke into the starting lineup last year as a freshman.
Yep.
And really played well down the stretch, especially against the smash mouth type teams. He's a lot bigger and stronger and ready to have a great season. James New can play inside or outside linebacker. Played a lot of inside linebacker last year. He's going to be on the field all over the place, inside and outside. He can do it all. He's had just a great offseason. James worked so hard. We're just so proud of him and what he's done. And behind those guys inside, we got a couple of freshmen, Brody Johnson, Colton Kane, that are, you know, we're just really looking forward to seeing those guys turn it loose. They played really well in the scrimmages, got some varsity time, and proud of what they've got. Nate Anderson is an inside linebacker. It's the first time he's ever played. So he's getting some work in there as well. On the outside, you know, we returned two starters again in Trey Hornsby and Ethan Idlewild. Ethan, again, a sophomore, broke in the lineup last year as a freshman and didn't play like a freshman, played like a veteran.
Right.
And so he just does everything really, really well. He's much bigger and stronger this year, just a smart player, very physical player. So he makes a lot of things happen maybe that you don't see. You certainly don't see in the box score. But Trey Hornsby on the other side is our wrecking ball. He's going to break things. He's the type of guy that, as an offensive coordinator, you better know where he's at. He's going to tear stuff up, and plays very reckless. Spencer Allen, young guys like Brock Green, Connor Flynn, Jet McEwen, which is JJ's brother, Braden Milburn, Ford, another young freshman. Those guys are all really looking good at those linebacker spots. And looking forward to see those guys. Brian Ford. I should have known that.
No, I'm just we do this for 40 minutes. It's hard to keep them all rolling.
He's come a long way. Matter of fact, Brian didn't play football last year in middle school, so he's come back to football, but he's really doing a great job. So a lot of potential in those slots. And you're right. Those guys have to step up and be playmakers for us. If we're going to be good on defense, those four linebackers have to be playmakers, or we're not going to be a good defense.
And behind them, you have a veteran secondary. You've got a secondary that have got a couple guys that like to run downhill and like to run into things too. I love to watch the way some of them play. And the two scrimmages, correct me if I'm wrong, you give a Hammer Award. I think your safety's got both of them. Each, if I'm not mistaken, my memory is.
You are
correct. I remember the plays, by the way. And Simpson, who I guess would have been not the unknown, but the lesser known of the starters in your secondaries, had a pick in each game so far.
That's correct.
So, hey, how about that? I did some homework.
That's correct. A lot of experience there. We talked about experience earlier, and there's certainly some there. Jericho Dixon moves basically to a new position, if you will. You know, Jericho came into our program as a safety and played there. We moved him down to outside linebacker. So he's made the move back to the secondary and done a great job. Proud of him. You mentioned Xander Simpson on the other side. Xander is just a tough, hard-nosed football player, makes plays. Those two safeties that you mentioned that have won the Hammer already, senior Brady Kane and senior Cody Nichols, and those guys are going to hammer a lot of people.
I'll take both of them if you give me a choice.
Yeah, they do a good job. And that looks like it's going to be the guys that are going to grab those starting positions. But there's some good young ones behind them. Gavin Atwell got his first start in the Taylor County scrimmage the other night, played extremely well. Luke Martin, a freshman, who I mentioned as a B-back earlier, as a running back, he's shown a lot of promise. He's going to get on the field. Broderick Finley, Braden Ping. Braden Ping's a guy that's going to see a lot of action at safety. You'll see Logan Godsey, a senior cornerback. You'll see Gus Corneo, another senior cornerback. You mentioned we're talking seniors here.
I know.
A lot of seniors. Bryson Mounts, I mentioned earlier. Gavin Steele's a guy that'll figure in there. Wethington. So a lot of those guys can get on the field to see action in that secondary. But with those seniors throughout the defense and the experience that we have there, that's got to be a plus for us when it comes down to the game's tied in the fourth quarter, or we have overtime, as we'll probably have somewhere down the line this year. Those are the times when seniors step it up another notch and carry your team.
All right, we got two ways we can go. We got about 4 minutes of where they're going to let us go. We can go to your coaching staff, which is pretty much the same group of suspects except Joey Warren's back. We need?
Roster.
No, I don't have a roster.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, it's on the back page of that. That's very good, is it?
No, this is it.
No. It's not on the back page of that. All right, I'll keep talking. How about try it on that one.
There we go. That'll help.
See if it's.
But now you mentioned coaches. I gotta tell you, I'm very, very happy and proud of our coaching staff. They make us look good. They really do. I believe it might be the best coaching staff we've ever had. They work so well together. They understand their role and their position, and they understand how to teach kids how to play that position. And they work well together in game as well in making adjustments and things like that. So I'm really excited about them. Coach Bill Sharp's back with us, defensive coordinator. He coaches outside linebackers. Folks remember him, long-time head coach over at Russell County. Coach Jason Roberts, I mentioned earlier, coaching the defensive line, does a great job. Darren Meese is new to our staff, but certainly not new to PC football.
Right.
Was a great player for us, went on and played at Cumberland University, and has been coaching in our middle school program for a long time. He's now our offensive line coach, and he's done a great job with those guys. Proud to have him aboard. Coach Phil Russell is back as a wide receivers coach. Two All-Staters, wide receivers, he's done a good job. Stephen Gubby, longtime offensive line coach. We moved him to the defensive backs, and he's done a tremendous job coaching those defensive backs. And really proud of the way those guys are working. Trevor Ridinger was new on our staff last year. Trevor Ridinger, Tyler Ball both be working with their JV guys. Trevor's coaching tight ends, and he's really our offensive assistant, if you will. Tyler's a defensive assistant, and they'll be handling the JV team. I mentioned Joey Warren. Folks remember him. He's been around a long time, but then he's been gone for a while.
Right.
We're glad to have him back. He's coaching our running backs and cornerbacks and helping with the with special teams, as I mentioned, with Coach Phil Russell. Coach Sarge Andrews, we're glad to have Sarge. Sarge is around and is part of our program still. We're glad to have him when he can be there. Proud to have Katie Jackson with us as our athletic trainer. She does a great job taking care of her kids. Gordy Prather's our team chaplain. And you know what? Brian Miller's our best AD in the business, but we got a brand new principal. And we're excited about him at PC High School, but he ain't new. He's an old PC boy. Kevin Cook takes over as our principal. Rodney McInich took a job, in the central office and moved out of that position.
So Kevin's dad and our peers. That's how you want to start talking old.
Well, I hear you.
Let's just let that ride.
Kevin graduated the year before I came to Pulaski.
Okay,
so,
all right.
But we're thrilled to have him as our principal. And, it's exciting time. School's underway, and every day's exciting, and football's underway. And, hey, let's go.
They're giving me a wrap, but come on out and see the Maroons. Their home opener will be a week from Friday night as Wayne County will invade. You'll get to see the new carpet, you'll get to see the new lights, and you'll get to see a pretty good football team. Coach John Hines, good luck Friday night. We'll make the trip to you to Belfry. We could talk for a long time, but they are telling me we are done. So we are done. So, Coach Hines, best of luck this year.
Thank
See
you, brother.
you Friday night.
Appreciate you. Appreciate LakeCumberlandSports.com and Wings and Rings and everybody involved in this show. Thanks.
And he just wrapped me up by thanking the good folks here at Wings and Rings. We'll be stepping aside, and Coach Foley and Josh McKinney are going to step in, and I'm going to do what Pat told me to do. Good night.
Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview Show at Buffalo Wings and Rings. I'm Josh McKinney. On down to Buffalo Wings and Rings. Biggest TV in the Lake Cumberland area. Buffalo Wings and Rings, and the hamburger, the cheeseburger, absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. Pleased to be joined by Southwestern head football coach Jason Foley. Coach, good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's great to catch up with you again. As always, let's recap last year. A successful 2021, to say the least, my friend. 11-2. Stop me if you start blushing here. 11-2, district champs, region runner-ups. Time for the best regular season in program history at 9-1. Even with that loss to Douglas, which is a four-letter word. Again, another great season last year.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we look back. It was a really good year for us, a really good football team.
Absolutely.
And I think we came out of the gate strong last year, and we really never missed a beat. We had the one game, what we like to say is the COVID game against Mercer.
Yeah.
And we had 8 or 10 kids out that game. It just hit us. And other than that, wasn't much blemishes. We got to that region title game, won that district championship again, and had a good year. Definitely nothing to be ashamed of, and we want to build on that and keep going further.
Absolutely. A little bit more for you from last year. I know it's about this year. Most wins in a season with 11. 2-0 versus PC. We always have to talk about that. That was one of the things that administration wanted to take care of. Start beating the Crosstown Rivalry. We took care of that 2-0 last year. 3-time defending district champs. 6 straight region title games. 28-10. Best of the first 3 years of any Southwestern football coach. That would be you, my friend. That's quite impressive. Plus, you in the program, by my count, only 3 wins away. You from your 50th head coaching victory. And the Southwestern program, their 200th program victory.
Well, that's some good numbers.
I'm throwing a lot at you early.
Yeah, you are. That's some things that I hadn't even thought about, and definitely a lot of good things. I definitely want to thank all those players and the great coaches that I've had and administrations and things that's allowed me to be in that position. But, we're definitely happy about where we've done the last 3 years.
Right.
We're not satisfied.
Of course.
But we want to continue to build. Going back to last year, like you said, for us to win 3 consecutive district championships in a district that we're in, we're happy about that. I know, like you mentioned, the Pulaski County Rivalry is always a big one. I think we're 11-1 against them since I've been there. That's freshman, JV, and varsity.
Oh, wow.
We're 5-1 in varsity. against them. And, they've got a great program, and we're certainly happy to be able to do that, And I know, like you said, when I got here, it had kind of been the other way for 2 or 3 years.
That was one of the things that wanted to be accomplished.
And so, credit to our kids. They always play that game with a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. And but for us and them, we kind of owned the district for a long time, so it's been us and them. And fortunately, we've been able to get on top the last few years.
I say all of that to say this year, I'm going to call it a milestone year. Last year was about unfinished business. This year, a milestone year, your 4th season at the helm of the blue and orange. It does not seem like it's been 4 years.
It's hard to believe. I was coming up here tonight, and, thinking about this, it seems like no time. It was my first time coming up here as a Southwestern coach. And 4 years, it goes by fast. It's
in some ways it seems like 8, though, probably.
Yeah, it can. For me, this is my 13th year as a head coach. And it just seems like no time that I was just getting started. So it really goes fast.
It does.
You learn a lot as you go, and obviously create a lot of great relationships. And thankful to be able to do what I've been able to do.
Well, you're incredibly good at it. 4th season at the helm. 2022 roster. As always, take us through it. You can do it however you want, position, class, however you like to do it, Coach.
Well, we've really got a great group of kids. And I tell people all the time, I have all kinds of questions. What kind of team are you going to have? And I love our roster. I love what we have on paper. Paper don't mean a lot, though. You got to make it come to fruition.
True.
And but I definitely like our roster. Starting with our freshman class first. We've got around 30 in the freshman class.
That's a good group.
And it's a very good group, very talented group. There's lots of great kids in that class. You think about they've got a little bit of everything. Some linemen, some running backs, receivers, a couple quarterbacks. But I'm very, very excited about that class. I think throughout the high school they're going to make a big impact. And then we go to the sophomore class. That was a group when they come out of middle school that didn't have a ton of success. But last year we really got them going, got some kids out that hadn't been playing. I think we got 20, 25 in that group, and they're getting better all the time. My junior class is my deepest class. We have a lot of depth in the junior class. I've always said, when you think about all the positions, offensively and defensively, it's by far the deepest class that we've got. I think we've got around 25, 30 in that group as well.
Oh, wow.
And then the seniors, I think we got a good 15 to 17. And there's some really, really good football players in that senior group. The kids that's been through battles, that's won, helped us win some big games. And we're looking to lean on them for leadership. But that's kind of the general consensus of our roster. We've got around 80 kids. That's a good number. Something that, since I've got there, I think we went from 55 to about 80 every year. And in 5A football, you need that.
Oh, yeah.
I even tell my assistants all the time, if you're going to play 15 games on a 5A schedule.
Absolutely.
You have to have depth and you have to have players. And definitely got a good group, and we're happy with the numbers that we've got.
And that's something I tell you all the time, something I appreciate so much about you is getting those players. When those players are ready at the varsity level, you don't hold them back. You get them in, get them game action. And that pays dividends, and that has paid dividends each of your last 3 years.
Yeah, well, it
just helps come postseason.
It doesn't matter what grade you're in. We tell our freshman class when they come in, it's hard for freshmen to play on Friday nights.
That's right.
But we've had a few that have, and I'll never hold them back. If they're ready, we'll give them that opportunity. And there's a lot of kids that maybe are role players, in previous years, but they become starters, or kids that weren't role players that maybe were special team players that become big role players year to year. And I'm always looking for the depth and always the superstars. It's those role players that really make the difference to me in the big district games and the region games and things like that.
It's amazing to me, your course of 3 years at Southwestern, where you'll have those players that need to play a role, and they start playing so well, they work themselves into a starting job.
Right. Yeah, and we've seen that every year so far. Kids at the beginning,
absolutely,
role players at the end of the year, they're playing high-level football. And, again, that's a credit to the kids and their work ethic and their relentless attitude to try to get better every day. And it's a credit to my coaching staff who works with those guys diligently all the time, day in and day out. And as coaches, that's what we're trying to do is just make kids better every day, and I think we do a good job with it.
And let's face it, that keeps your starters honest.
Absolutely.
It keeps them from putting it in neutral and coasting.
Right. You've always got to have good competition.
Yeah.
I mean, competition is important. I think it gets the best out of kids when you have healthy competition. And we always tell them, it's a new year every year. I told our kids when we started this year, it doesn't matter what happened last year. This is a new year. You got to go earn it and go get it. And that's what we're doing right now.
Buffalo Wings and Rings, the Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview Show. Going down to Buffalo Wings and Rings. If you can't make it out tonight, get here this weekend. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Great appetizers, great food, Buffalo Wings and Rings, and the biggest TV in the Lake Cumberland area. And we're in the Jumbotron inside, so it's kind of like, how you doing Jumbotron? It's absolutely incredible. Talking about the numbers, that's a solid group, solid number.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think about, I like to play as many kids as I can play.
You do.
And, if in the perfect world, if you could play 11 offense and 11 defense and,
which is what you want.
11 special team kids, that would be great.
That would be great.
It's hard to do that. There's always 3 or 4 kids that's going to have to play both ways in high school football. But we do like to play a lot of kids, and that's what we tell our players. If you're ready, we want as many contributors as possible on Friday nights. I think after spring ball this year, we were counting up, and that's not counting incoming freshmen. We thought we had 35 players that could contribute on a Friday night.
Holy cow.
And get out there and perform, and not miss a beat. So I think that number is still there, and I think you also can add a few freshmen to that's upcoming that'll be able to make an impact too.
It makes your life easier, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. The more players you got, the better off you'll be.
Absolutely. You mentioned the number of players in each class. Is offensively, what can we expect this year? Names, kind of like that.
Well, when you think about the offense, I think we've got a lot of balance to this team.
Seems that way, yeah.
A lot of returning receivers, that's back. You think about Caden Hewitt, Caden Cunningham, Brody Perkins,
boy.
Jonas Gallagher, Christian Walden, Owen Campbell, Blake Bowen. That's going to be a name that you're going to hear a lot about. All of those kids, have shown great promise. Aiden Childers a little bit as well. Nathan Vanover. The list goes on and on, but we got 8 to 10 kids that can catch footballs that's returning for us, so that's exciting.
That's impressive.
The line of scrimmage, we've got 4 of 5 kids that started that's back on the front line.
That is huge.
You start with Braden Myers. He's our big left tackle. He's getting a lot of recognition around the state.
Rightfully so, yeah.
Honorable State All-Mention last year. A lot of colleges have been looking at him. Big kid, 6'4", almost 300 pounds. He's doing a great job for us, been a great leader for us. Tyler Russell has had a tremendous offseason. One of the best kids that we had in the spring as far as making jumps from last season. He's played everywhere. He's played center, guard, tackle. We rely on his leadership a lot. Maddox Mink, he's certainly back, and he's a kid that can play everywhere. You'll see him on defense a lot. Caden Pachaka and Cooper Garman are 2 big guards that's came in. They got great size, great strength. Cole Pierce, that's another one. That's another great size kid. All those kids are 6'2", 250 to 300 pounds, very strong in the weight room.
Wow.
Bradley Baker. He's a scrappy, not hardly as big as those guys, but he gives you all-out effort at all times, and I think he's going to give us a lot of reps on the O-line. Nick Tucker, he'll help us on the offensive line as well. And then you may say Christian Kelly, and, of course, can't forget about our center, Nico Pasquerella.
Absolutely.
Mr. Consistency.
Oh, my goodness.
He snaps the football. I've had two kids in my 13 years of coaching that's just gifted snapping the football. And him being one of them. So
has to be.
He's definitely excited to have him back as well. So we got a really good line of scrimmage. We'll go as far as they take us.
Absolutely.
And I always say that. You cannot – they may not be the guys in the newspaper, but we'll go as far as that offensive line takes us as far as offense goes. Quarterback. This is the first time in my tenure at Southwestern that I've had returning quarterbacks with starting experience.
That has to be a different feeling for you.
So it's a great feeling, actually.
I'm sure.
And, you want to start with the kid who started the most for us last year, Colin Burton.
Absolutely.
Just a tough kid, resilient, leads the team very well.
He took that role.
He took it.
He took it.
He took it.
And made it his.
I say last year, practice habits, he's a worker,
That's awesome.
Team rallies around him. He can run the football, very good passing on the run.
Yeah.
And so we're excited to have him. Hope that we think he's improved from last year and we're going to keep building. You got your athlete, Mason Hibbard. You've seen him at quarterback. Obviously he's wide receiver. He does it all. But you'll see him at the quarterback position, definitely some throughout the year. How much depends on how our offense is going, but he's a change of pace kid.
Absolutely.
He's a 4.5 40, and he can pass the football, and he's got some accuracy, getting better with that all the time. So I'm not afraid a bit to put him back there. We got another kid named Gavin Oliver, Roger Gavin Oliver. He's a kid that's got some starting experience. Came to us this year, big arm. We found out in the scrimmages he's a competitor, plays big in big moments.
Nice.
And so he's another one that can make some noise back there at that quarterback position. So, definitely excited about those three kids that we've got. Two of them being seniors, Roger Oliver and Mason Hibbard seniors, and then Colin Burton's the junior.
Right.
A couple freshmen quarterbacks that's battling it out, Nish Patel and Faden Bryant, and they'll be really good with our freshman and JV group, and definitely excited for them too. I think the only other group varsity-wise I haven't mentioned is the running backs. And running backs, we've led the state in rushing the last 2 years in 5A.
that you have. Yeah.
And I know Southwestern's always been known for running backs. I played running back in college. Of course, I love having good running backs.
Absolutely.
We had 5 of them last year that probably could have started most high school football teams.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The fortunate thing is we lost 3 of them, Connor Crisp, Dylan Bland, and Gideon Brainerd.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 horses that's returning.
Absolutely.
Tanner Wright and Christian Walden. That was our first and third leading rusher. Tanner's been over 1,000 yards for 2 straight seasons. Christian Walden, he can do everything. I mean, he makes plays all over the field.
Everywhere.
And so we're excited about those 2. And that won't be the only 2 you hear. You'll hear about Lucas McKee a lot. He's a sophomore, has had a tremendous offseason. Spring, scrimmages so far. He's a bull running the football. You'll hear about Nathan Vanover. He's a speedster, really strong kid in the weight room. Caden Flores is a scat back. He's probably our smallest back, but he's more like a Connor Crisp was. He's got that scat back to him. And Braxton Walters, as the year progresses, he's a big time player. 200 pounds, 6'2". He can catch, he can run, play defense. He can do it all. And probably the one that's come on the most this offseason is Colin Hibbard. In my opinion, he's got the best vision of the group. Tremendous vision. And so that kind of rounds out the offense for you.
It's good offense.
And I'm bragging on a lot of these kids, but they deserve it because they worked hard, and we're excited about them.
Should be. You absolutely should be. And I just worry if you get into this routine of having a starting quarterback back and you don't have to worry about who's going to play quarterback, that you're going to get lackadaisical on me.
Well, it's something new,
It is for you.
I had a conversation with my quarterbacks currently the other day, and I said my first year here, our first, second, third string was out going into game 1.
You're not lying. That's exactly right.
So I've got to be prepared. We can't have enough.
Who's playing quarterback this week?
So it's always something to think about.
But that offensive group, such a talented group, such an athletic group, and I mentioned to you in our course of conversations with Michael Gregg over the offseason, not to put any pressure on you, so I'm going to say it publicly now. Do we get 2 1,000-yard rushers this year between Wright and Walden?
Well, that would be great, wouldn't it? It
would be great. No pressure now. But.
I think they're definitely capable of doing it. Either one of them could, but it could happen.
You've got them coming out of the backfield and all those other running backs. You've got that incredible core of wide receivers. That has got to be, thinking quickly, that has to be one of the deepest receiving cores I've ever heard of at Southwestern. That can contribute and legitimately will contribute this year.
I believe so. When I first arrived, we had maybe 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at 8, 9, 10. And again, it goes back to that depth because some of those kids have to play on the defensive side of the ball too. Yeah. And but yeah, I'm excited about that group. They're long, they're tall. They've got some speed to them. We got some guys that can play in the slot. We've got some guys that can go out wide. You think about Blake Bowen. He's 6'6", 6'7", every bit of it. You know, Caden Hewitt, 6'4", 6'5" range.
Yeah.
Brody Perkins, 6'2", 6'3". You know, Cunningham, 6'2". And then you got your slot backs with Mason Hibbert and Christian Walden. I know we mentioned those before, but all those kids can make plays. And then Vanover's the fastest one on the team. so he can go over the top, you know. But definitely excited about him, you know, looking forward to it.
Hope you can join us at Buffalo Wings and Rings. A great atmosphere. If you're a sports fan, you got to check out Buffalo Wings and Rings. We certainly appreciate the folks at Buffalo Wings and Rings hosting our annual coaches preview show. That's the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the football looks a little different.
Yeah, that's going to be the area on the field that you're going to see the most new faces.
Yeah.
Probably the most inexperienced right now as far as that goes. Got a new defensive coordinator.
It starts there, yeah.
And Levi Rogers. And he comes to us, you know, he's from Lincoln County. He's coached with some great coaches throughout his time, and really excited about what he's doing. A lot of energy, very fundamental. Got a really good style of defense. I think it's going to be fun to watch. And along with Coach Cundiff, linebacker coach, Coach Crow, defensive line coach, defensive back coach, Coach Herron. And we're excited about all of those guys. But as far as the players go defensively, it starts with some guys up front on the defensive line. You know, Nick Tucker, I think he's going to make a big name for himself this year.
I think so.
He battled injury last year, was out a lot of the season.
Yeah.
And you're going to see some big things from him. Kenyon Taylor, Brody Perkins, they're going to play some defensive end for us. Christian Kelly. Finally, we get him back.
Finally, yeah.
Didn't have him last season. So he'll be back with us playing some defensive end. Colton Goff, junior, tremendous young man, strong in the weight room. He'll be on that defensive line. You'll see Bradley Baker. Devin Leclerc, a freshman, has shown some promise. Baker's scrappy, like I mentioned about him on the offensive line. He's going to get in there and make plays and be gritty. Tyler Russell is a tremendous two-way player, offense and defense. We've always got Braden Myers. You know, we know he leads us up front on the offensive line, but he can certainly go in there and play as well. And so we feel good about our defensive line, what they can bring to the table. Our linebacking core, I will say there's going to be a lot of new faces, but it's certainly the deepest linebacking core I've had.
That's a good thing.
Since I've been here. Now, they won't all be ready for game one. You know, 3 or 4 of them is not going to be able to be due to some injuries. They're going to be out.
Right.
But by midseason, you know, I think that linebacker core is going to be pretty nasty. Starting off, you know, you've got Maddox Mink. You've got Wyatt Stafford, Caden Cunningham, you know, plays outside backer. Lucas McKee plays outside backer. Colin Hibbard, we call him our Swiss Army knife. He can play everywhere.
I like it.
Tanner Wright can step in and play. Logan Haynes still injured right now, but he can certainly come in and give us some big minutes. Owen Ashbrook has been battling some injuries. He's a 6'4", 6'5" kid that you'll see play. And then you've got Roger Oliver and Colin Burton, who are quarterbacks that can play some outside backer as well. So we feel really good about the linebacking core once they're all healthy. I think that'll be a really deep position, but it is a lot of new faces. Secondary, that's probably where we're most experienced returning defensively.
Yeah.
Mason Hibbard, Jonas Gallagher, they lead the way coming back along with Christian Walden. You'll see some guys like Nathan Vanover that'll be getting a lot of action. Aiden Childers, of course, J.J. Hutchinson. He's dealt with some things early with his hamstring, but just got some good news that he's about back ready to go.
Good.
So J.J. will be a big contributor for us in the secondary as well. And just a lot of kids that can make plays there that's got some experience. So overall, we might come out a little slow defensively, but I think once we get some experience under our belt, I think we'll be solid.
I don't really know how to ask this in a sensible way, but if you're going to be inexperienced at a position defensively or at multiple positions defensively, experience coming back up front, experience in the secondary, if you're going to be inexperienced, middle the best place. I know there's not a best place, but
you could make that argument. You know, you got the front and the back maybe to protect you.
But with what your linebackers do,
and we put a lot on our linebackers too. So, you know, we certainly need to get that experience as fast as we can. And I think if we have any blemishes early, it will be just lack of experience. I believe in the talent.
Absolutely.
I think the roster's there, and I think as the year progresses, you know, by district play, I think our defense will be very good. And we may come out of the gate good, but I'm just saying there will be some new faces there early that we'll have to probably get through some bumps with.
Of course, absolutely. And that's a great group defensively, starting with that new defensive coordinator. You go to special teams. That's always an integral part of any Friday night.
Well, special teams is huge. And it's a third of the football game, and I think sometimes as coaches we can get caught up on the offense and defense a lot. When
Excellent point.
Reality, that's a big part of the game.
Win it or lose it for you.
And it makes a difference in those big games. And obviously special teams, it starts with Caleb Moore, the returning kicker.
And that guy, I'm telling you, that kid, you've told us time and time again how hard he works.
He'll outwork about all of our team in the weight room. He comes in there. He doesn't, he practices with us. Sometimes I have to tell him, Caleb, it's okay. With kickers, we give a little bit more leniency. And but
how's he respond to that?
Well, he wants to be a part of around his guys.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And so I love his work ethic.
And
if you could see him when he came in as a sophomore compared to now,
I remember.
tremendous improvement.
Incredible.
And he's gotten more distance. His accuracy is really, really good right now. We've been working field goals, and he's got good range. Definitely won't care one bit to get down there, that 20, 30-yard line range, and we'll take a shot with him, kick field goals this year.
That's awesome.
And so we're excited about that. We got some good returners with punt returners, kickoff returners, because we've got good athletes.
Yep.
And we think with our kickoff teams and punt teams that we got guys can go down and cover. So we're excited about our special teams.
You mentioned defensive coaches a little bit earlier. I know offense, you can't do it alone. You got a great group of offensive coaches as well.
Yeah, and, we have had a lot of coaching turnover this year.
You have. Gregors and I were talking about that. Yeah, that's true.
I was fortunate. My first 3 years, there was very limited coaching turnover. And, defensive coordinator took a head coaching job last year, and he took one of our assistants with us. And then we've had a couple assistants that's had jobs and things. It's just caused them to have to go different directions. Yeah. So we do have a lot of new coaches, but I'm very excited about the coaching staff I've got. I mentioned defensively, Gordon Crow, defensive line. He played at University of Kentucky.
That's big.
Played some professional ball in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And he's done a great job with our D-line. Linebacker coach Mark Cundiff, he's born and raised here, just got a great motor, really gets a lot out of kids. He's our linebacker coach returning. Secondary-wise, Jack Herron does a tremendous job with defensive backs. D coordinator Levi Rogers, I've already mentioned him. He'll help us do everything with that side of the ball. And then some young coaches that's come on board that'll be helping our JV. Craig Lawrence, he's calling our JV defense right now. Actually came from the middle school, and he's learning. He's really doing a good job with the young kids right now, and excited about him. Logan Starnes, alumni from Southwestern.
Absolutely.
He's working with our defensive backs with the young kids, and so we're excited about the defensive staff. The offensive side of the ball, it starts varsity level. Matt Norse, wide receivers. He's been with me a long time, so excited to have him back. Tony Dixon will be still helping with running backs. Peyton Phelps has moved to the tight end role this year.
How about that?
And he's going to call some JV offense and coach tight ends for us, so he's done a great job with that. Our line coaches, Tate Morris, Tim Loy, excited to have them back. They've kind of moved into that varsity offensive line role, and they're doing a great job there. Quarterbacks, Ray Walton comes in when he can, and then Tom Murphy helps as well. And Tom Murphy does a little bit of everything. He's kind of our mentor, the guy that the kids go to, but he'll help coach many different positions. But Coach Walton does a great job when he can as far as coming in and working with them too. So I think the coaching staff is very good staff, and excited to work with them. I think it'll be a great group.
New faces and new places. I would think obviously that has meshed quite well, quite quickly.
Absolutely. And I forgot one, Coach Eric Minton, who's been with me the longest,
Be careful now.
I got to be careful. I hope I haven't forgot anybody else out. I didn't write them down. But Coach Minton is our head JV coach, and been with wide receivers too. But as far as the meshing goes, it takes any unit, just like a team,
absolutely,
a while to get used to each other.
It does.
And we're actually still figuring each other out a little bit.
Yeah.
We first 3 years, we kind of got used to each other. My staff, a lot of them had came from Taylor County with me, and we were very familiar. This is a new group. I think the potential's good, but just like the kids, it's taken us a little while to figure out how we're going to mesh and coach with each other. But I'm very pleased with it, and I think we'll continue to get better in that aspect too.
No doubt about it. We appreciate you for joining us, Buffalo Wings and Rings, Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview Show. I'm Josh McKinney alongside Southwestern coach Jason Foley. Administration and your athletic director, Southwestern and Central Office, we would obviously be incredibly remiss if we did not talk about the incredible new turf, the incredible new lights, the incredible new sound system. It's a completely renovated renovation.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, definitely want to thank all the administration.
Absolutely.
Pat Richardson,
Thank you.
Matt Cook, Sonia Wiles, all of them. You know, at my school, Mark Flynn, you know, being the new principal, Alex Eaton, athletic director. Can't say enough about all of them.
Yeah.
You know, Stephen Butcher, assistant principal. Just we're excited. I'm excited to have them as my administration. You know, we appreciate what they've done as far as getting our field. It's an awesome field.
Dude.
I mean, it's hard to find one around this area that's any better. You know, I've been in a lot of places, but our field really looks good, and I'm thankful for it.
You see the field, and then you see that video of the lights and the sound. Literally, it is an entire new reservation. I love the investment from central office and administration into our kids.
Absolutely.
You can never go wrong spending money on kids.
Yeah, and it's a multi-use.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the thing. You know, it's obviously a football field, but so many other sports are able to use it as well.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to it as in the off season as much as in season. You know,
I would
because
imagine. Yeah.
I do so much with my off season. You know, my speed and agility and strength and conditioning work, and we'll do a lot of things on that field. But the lighting system's awesome.
Dude.
You know, it's just can't say enough about that. And definitely very appreciative. I know it's been a long time coming, and we're appreciative of all the administration, what they've done to help us with that.
Absolutely. Tremendous support and long overdue and finally done, and get to enjoy it this season for the 2022 edition of the Southwestern Warriors. You know, that's your administration. Got to talk about the Booster Club. Always love to give the Booster Club props, because without the Booster Club, well, where's the money coming from? How are we going to do all this?
Absolutely. You know, you're only going to be as good sometimes as your Booster Club is.
Ain't that the truth?
And definitely want to thank everything that Nick Hibbert does. You know, he's our president. Charlie Russell, vice president. You know, they lead the way.
Yep.
And, you know, there's many folks that's involved. Laura Baker, Marianne Perkins has helped us a lot over the years. You know, Beth Stafford's been involved, and I don't want to name them all, but there's so many. You know, Miss Withington, she does a lot, and there's so many people that do a lot, but definitely thankful for the Booster Club and everything that they do for us.
They do so much, and of course, also want to talk about that family support. Love seeing your family Friday nights after the game on the field. It's your family support is incredible.
Well, I've always been fortunate.
You have.
To have the family, you know, even back in my playing days, they've always been there to support. So definitely good and exciting always to see them, and I'm fortunate to have that.
Certainly, and of course, 40 minutes, really not that long for us to chat and talk and catch up. About 8 minutes left or so. Got to talk about the schedule. It gets started this Friday night. You talked about some of those coaching changes. Well, this Friday night you're starting with a familiar face and Coach Mark Payne. How's that been this week? Trying to deal with that.
It's different. It's a very different, unique situation.
It has to be.
Coach Payne and I go back a long ways.
I was going to ask, how long do you go back?
It's, I think 2012, probably a decade. You know, somewhere around
that long.
We coached together. We started together on an FBU All-Star team. It was a top 35 team. We were both coaching middle school football, and I selected him from Corbin to be my defensive coordinator, and we just meshed like crazy. And so we told each other, you know, once we become a high school coach, we're going to go work together. And so anyways, we worked together for 5 years. The thing about that is he has prepared for me every day in practice for 5 years.
That's true. Yeah, that's what Gregor's just saying.
And so he knows the ins and outs. And Mark, that's his strength anyways, is scheming.
That guy, yeah,
and
absolutely.
So he's obviously going to know the ins and outs, and he knows everything I want to do in the big moments. And they're going to be very prepared. It's a very tough situation.
It really is.
And he knows our kids very well.
That's true.
You know, it's we don't know their kids like he knows our kids.
Good point.
He knows the strengths and weaknesses of every one of our players.
That's a good point.
And he's that's like I said, that's his strength as a coach. He's great in a lot of ways, but that's his strength.
Absolutely.
And so it's a big challenge for us. Cody Harp went with him. He's defensive line coach. And so it's been tough, but we can't overthink it either. You still got to go line up and you got to prepare yourself and get your team ready the best you can.
And that's the task at hand, getting ready for a Madison Southern team that, last year, a down year for Southern last year, they will not be down this year.
Absolutely not. I've watched them on film early.
Absolutely.
They're going to surprise several people. They're very big and strong. They got great size. Mm-hmm. They've got a quarterback that's slinging it around. Looks really good.
Yeah.
We always know Coach Payne's going to put a good defense on the field. So they're going to be very good defensively, very sound. And they've got 2 or 3 burners. And when I say burners, with speed. Kay Sullivan, who moved from Pulaski to Madison Southern. Fastest player maybe PC had. He's over there now at Madison Southern. Then you've got there's another kid that's very fast that they've got. That's I think a 4.4 kid.
Woo.
So we got some guys to try to cover. And it's going to be a tough challenge, and we know that it's going to be a tough game.
Looking forward to Friday night, getting it started with Madison Southern. Home opener, the debut of the turf, the lights, the sound system, the new reservations the week after versus West Jess. And then we've got a Labor Day weekend on Saturday. Simon Kenton, Mercer County, revenge for Mercer County, Lincoln County, and then you get into the district slate.
Yeah, we've already talked to Mad South. West Jessman got a great quarterback. A lot of people is building them up. They've got some good athletes, so I think West will be good. Simon Kitten's going to be one of the very toughest games on our schedule.
Are they 6A?
They're 6A. They were down a little last year, but they're usually not down.
Yeah.
And I've heard some early things early on. Scrimmages, they're looking really, really good. We need to get Mercer back, this year.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that game. We got Lincoln. And then you go into district play, and, you've got your North Laurel, your Whitley, your South Laurel, and Pulaski. And it's going to be a very tough district. North Laurel is going to be really good this year. It's one of their best teams, if not their best team in the last 5 to 10 years.
And you got that new coach in the mix over there that's
right. New coach, new energy.
Yeah.
So, and then Pulaski's going to be tough. We know that. We know their defense is going to be really good, and they got a new quarterback, Bryson Duggar. And so it's going to be another tough challenge with them, like it always is. And then I don't know a whole lot about Whitley and South Laurel, but I just know every game's going to be difficult, and we got to be ready. Last game may be the best team on our schedule, Madison Central. They're projected top 4 in 6A.
And what they did last year. I mean, that run they went on last year.
Yeah, we beat them there that last game, and they ended up going to the semis.
Absolutely.
Had the state champion down, St. X, in the Final Four game. So, and they got everybody back. So that tells you how good they're going to be.
Wow. It's impressive. Quite impressive. You mentioned, Whitley County. You go to North Laurel district-wise. You go to Whitley County, South Laurel, and PC at home. That's 2 tough places to play in the district, North Laurel and Whitley County. That's
it's
unfriendly.
Anytime you go on the road that way, it's going to be tough.
Absolutely.
And, you're going to have to be on your A game. Probably going to have to be 2 touchdowns better going in.
Better be.
And we know our work's cut out for us. It's going to be a very challenging schedule. But you want to be battle-tested going into the playoffs, so that's the positive in it, and we definitely will be.
And, of course, talking about that postseason, nobody's played longer the last several years than your Southwestern Warriors. Obviously, that's what you want to do again this year.
Well, I feel like, one thing I've been proud of is I feel like we always play our best football at playoff time, and I think for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been peaking at the right time. And we're going to take one game at a time. We've got big goals. And we want to we want to knock that door down and win that region and get to Kroger Field. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
But you got to take one game at a time. And it starts with district play, and we know that's going to be a challenge. And we'll just take one game at a time throughout the season and try to get the job done.
You know this better than I. You keep knocking on that door, eventually that damn door's going to fall down.
Well, we're going to keep going at it until it does, And got some great kids in the program, and I'm excited. I think they're ready for the challenge, and I think they're excited for the season.
Coach, ready for the challenge? I know you are.
Oh, I'm always ready.
You've been ready since it ended.
So I'm always ready. I'm a competitor, and I love this time of year. There's a lot of sleepless nights.
I'm sure.
But it's when you're a competitor, you love it, and that's what I love to do.
Well, I'll close with this. Did you get any time in the woods during the off season? I know that's how we kind of left each other at Douglas that night. I'm like, get away, unplugged. Get in the woods.
Well, I don't know about the woods, but I definitely did some things that I like to do. You know,
I know you were beaching. So
yeah, I went to the beach a couple times, and I like to play a lot of cornhole. You know, I like to get in tournaments. My dad and I do that.
Do you really?
So that's always cool. And so yeah, I did some things. Did some things in the fun that was fun on the side, but definitely it's go time now, football time.
Absolutely, certainly is, Coach. My friend, I know I tell you this all the time. We appreciate all you do for us. You make our job incredibly fun. It's a privilege to follow you and your Warriors as we roll down this road for a fourth year with you, man. We are very much looking forward to it. We appreciate you all so very much.
Well, I appreciate you and Michael and everyone at Lake Cumberland Sports and all that you do to promote our programs and broadcast our games. We really appreciate everything you guys do as well.
Looking forward to it. Good luck Friday night.
Thank you.
Certainly appreciate you joining us. Buffalo Wings and Rings, Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview Show for all of our Lake Cumberland Sports staff. Producer Pat doing a great job this evening. Nip Hibbard, all the staff. Bob Boone's here doing player interviews. All of our coaches, we appreciate you for joining us. Thank you, Buffalo Wings and Rings, Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview.